For today's Faces of Faith, we're talking about cravings. We all have them. And around this time of year, with so many New Year's resolutions to get fit, cravings may be extra strong. Today's guest knows all about that. She was never bulimic or anorexic and was actually never overweight. Yet Mary DeTurris Poust struggled with body image and eating for years until she found some solace in God. She has written an entire book about this. It's called Cravings, A Catholic Wrestles with Food, Self-Image, and God. And she joins me now from Albany, New York. Mary, good morning. In your book, Cravings, you're kind of saying that we can take control of our eating and our lives by relinquishing control to God. Is that right?
That's right, Randy, and it's a paradox, and yet it's a real challenge for most of us, because we want to believe that we are in control of every aspect of our lives, and so we expend all of this energy, often using food, to try and do that. You know, if we lose 5 more pounds, I'm going to be the person I need to be. And we try all these different diets and all these different plans, but they often don't work, or if they do, they don't last, because we're not really getting to the heart of the matter, which is, what are we hungry for? And if we have food issues, it's usually we're not hungry for potato chips and ice cream. We're hungry for self-acceptance or love or fulfillment in our lives. And those things really only come when we do some soul searching and connect with God and bring prayer into our life, and maybe start establishing some new practices to replace the old habits.
So in a sense, really, that's what we're craving, you're saying.
Yes, I think oftentimes we're using food to fill a void for something much deeper. And, you know, it's easier. It's easier to eat than it is to kind of do that searching we need to do.
So how do you handle then that guilty feeling? You know, we see it all the time. We might see a piece of chocolate, and we love chocolate, but we say, oh, we can't eat that. How do you handle that?
Right. I love food. I love to cook. And my blog even features a Foodie Friday recipe recipe post where I share things every week. So I hope people come away from this understanding that this cravings is not about dieting so much as it's a celebration of food, and that when we put food into its rightful place in our lives, we can enjoy it without the guilt. So if you love chocolate, eat chocolate, just don't eat chocolate all the time. And the Catholic faith kind of provides us with a template for that, in that we have seasons of feasting and fasting. We don't always feast, and so we have to bring some balance to our lives. And again, that balance on a day-to-day basis tends to come when we are spiritually connected, and when we are connected to something bigger than ourselves.
And you also write about turning to God to see our true selves, like when people think that they might look fat in pictures. In fact, can I share a picture of you from 1982? We happen to have one. And you were I want our viewers to look at this, because you were very critical of how you looked in this photo. And anyone who's looking at that knows that you look fit and you look like you're in great shape. So how did you see yourself then, and what do you get from God that helps you see the true picture there?
I think very few of us look in the mirror and see our true selves. You know, we tend to see our flaws magnified. And I can look at that picture now from 25 years ago and say, okay, I thought I was overweight then. Not only was I not overweight, I might have actually been thin. But at the time, I was seeing something that wasn't reality, because I was seeing what I wanted to be, and I didn't fit into what I wanted to be. And so I think what it comes down to, it tells people it's not necessarily only people who are overweight who have these issues. You could be exactly what the doctor says you're supposed to be, and that number on the scale can still define you. If you're not satisfied on a deeper level. And so that's a lot of this has to do with self-acceptance, and that's not easy. And so we need to turn to God, because we can't do it on our own.
I want to ask you about this passage in the Bible that I understand really resonated with you. It reads, "You formed my inmost being, you knit me in my mother's womb. I praise you so wonderfully, you made me. Wonderful are your works." What should people take away from that passage, Mary?
Yeah, my first deep experience with that psalm was when I was on a retreat team for a women's retreat, and I was working with that psalm, and I have to tell you, every time I read it, I could feel walls of resistance going up, because quite frankly, I didn't think I was wonderfully made. And I think a lot of us probably feel that way. I would be wonderfully made if I was 20 pounds lighter, if I was a size 4, if I had more money, if I had a different job. So oftentimes, we're not seeing ourselves as wonderfully made, just as we are. And a big part of this is coming to understand that God loves us unconditionally, as we are right at this very moment. That doesn't mean we don't want to improve. It doesn't mean maybe we don't have to lose weight to get healthier, to get more fit. But that those things don't define us. Our weight is not a barometer of our self-worth.
And just very quickly before I let you go, one thing you do mention is that we can learn a lot from how the monks eat. So leave us with your final thought on that.
You know, the monks are like the original slow food locavore movement. We see all these movements today, and I think it's an attempt to bring some sanity to our food and our meals. And we can look to them because these are ancient practices. You know, the way we serve food, the way we prepare it, bringing love into the way we eat and some reverence, you know, bringing prayer into our meals at home. For Catholics, the Mass is a meal. And so we can take lessons from that. How do we celebrate Mass? We do it with reverence. We don't drive through, grab communion, and eat it in the car. Let's bring some of that into our home life and develop these mindful practices where we're really focusing on the food that's in front of us, the people that are around us, and in doing that, we'll find we're satisfied and not looking for something else 10 minutes later.
Mary DeTurris Poust, what a nice conversation with you this morning, the author of Cravings. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
This week, the public may hear about some of the evidence against